workshop and studio. Whether you're a beginner, an experienced miniature hobbyist, a model railroader, a mini wargamer, or just someone looking for a unique item to display on their mantle or bookcase, you certainly have come to the right place. My purpose with these videos is to help you create historically accurate miniatures. I craft all my models in 0 or 1/4 inch scale, but my methods can easily be adapted to other scales. No fancy power tools are needed. In fact, if you can handle common hand tools, you won't have any problem. Here at US Frontier Miniatures, I strive to not only make a historically accurate model, but one that is as close to museum quality as possible. Now, with the techniques that I have learned over the years, along with the methods that I have developed, I'd like to show you how to achieve these same results. Let's get started. Okay, well, I have our embossing tools here. Set up with the largest ones over here, and what we'll do as we use them, we'll switch them to the other side of the house. And the other thing I wanted to show you is this is an example of an earlier stone house that I did, and you can see this random method. So what this helps us out, by the way, in that when you look at a tool, you might think you only have one tool here, but you really have quite a few, because you can emboss this way, turn it upside down, and this way. So you have kind of the equivalent of 4 different tools. And the other point I want to make is, probably in this house, the wall of this house, this rear house that I'm looking at, probably has the equivalent of about 600 or 700 small stones in it. And of course, it'd take you forever to do that if you just go in one by one with our 20 total tools here. So what I normally do is to use about 4 impressions at a time. And I'll show you how I do that. I'll start with this big tool, as we mentioned, which is the largest of the stones. And I'll just go right next to the base of the house. You don't have to worry about this. This will all be covered with the mortar and the different approaches. But then I'll use the same tool and use it right here, kind of vertically. You notice there was a scratch there, which adds to the effect of the stones. Later we'll be scratching them on purpose to make them appear older than they are. And then along here, I'll turn the tool upside down, and we'll have one embossed right here. Then I won't do it with this one, but I'll show you with this one. I'll start to use some up in this area, because as I say, we want to minimize the amount of time. And this one, the stone came out actually in the thing, but we'll be able to put that in. Yeah, excellent. I'll start to go up the side and maybe down this side of the peak, maybe in the middle. So I'll even get, you have to be a little careful of that. I'm pulling the tool out too quickly here. But as I say, it's okay, because it's going to add to the randomness of this rubble stone that the settlers actually use. I'll go ahead and do this. We'll speed up the video so you won't have to watch me doing every one of them. Well, okay, the clay dried overnight, and as I mentioned, it shrunk slightly, which is one of the disadvantages of air-dried clay, but nevertheless, it's not going to be a problem. It shrunk along each outside part of the clay. You can see it here, maybe 1/32 of an inch. Also up here on the roof peaks by the roof trim. But we are going to use a simulated grout to go between the stones and between the stones and the siding. You know, if you recall, I even had trimmed off some excess of clay from the siding, although I'm not sure I should have left it on, but it was on the top of the siding, so I think it was best to take it off. In any event, we'll go ahead and proceed around the house to the back next, and then the other side. But before we get to the other side of the house, what we'll do is glue the chimney together, and then we'll also use the clay and make a simulated brick chimney, and we'll glue that on to the other side, and then we'll go ahead and cut our clay, roll our clay, and cut it accordingly. Yeah, so I've gone ahead with the back of the house, and I glued down the film, and I've also glued on the two windows and the door frame and the moldings. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start rolling the clay, and we can get going. And I won't show you everything since you saw me do the whole side, but I'll show you a little bit as I proceed to emboss the back of the house. Okay, well, on the back here, what we'll do is just duplicate the same techniques that we used on the side, and that we'll use each tool about 4 or 5 times, and then rotate the tool to the right and continue through the 20 or so tools, and then reverse the process. Well, we're about 10% through here, so we'll continue on. We'll finish off with the small stones to fill in any gaps, and there you have it. It looks very good. This will certainly pass muster, and we'll move on to the side with the chimney. Okay, with the back being finished now, and having done the previous side here, we can move on with the other side. But first, we have to do our chimney. We'll just sand the parts so it will take the glue better. Well, again, with gluing my parts, I like to use the combination of the super glue and the regular PVA glue. Okay, well, I've used these plastic clamps to hold the parts in place, and we'll just let this dry overnight. Glue's all dry now, and of course the next step is to apply clay to the chimney so that we can go ahead and carve bricks into the chimney. So in order to do that, keep two things in mind as we roll the clay. One is that we want to roll it to about 1/8 of an inch thickness, same as what we did when we were embossing stones on the sides of the house. And two, we want to roll the stones wide enough to cover 3 sides of the chimney, with the exception of the 1 inch on top where all 4 sides show. And now we'll glue the clay on. For this, as well as with the stones, I just used the PVA glue, this Elmer's glue all. Welcome back. What I've been doing is indenting grooves straight across the front part of the chimney, going all the way up. And I'm spacing these about 1/8 of an inch apart. I'm taking a little bit of artistic license with the scaling of the width of the bricks, but to me, it looks okay. And if I tried to do it any smaller in terms of width apart, I would have one groove running into another groove. So in any event, about every inch or so going up the chimney, I checked to make sure my lines weren't lopsided. But now that I'm on the sides of the chimney, I'm just kind of eyeballing it and putting my grooves in, because it's pretty easy to determine whether you're drawing crooked lines or not with just about a 1/2 an inch there in width. Okay, now for the vertical grooves between the bricks. I'm taking a small screwdriver that's approximately the 1/8 inch, so I have the exact thickness that I want. And I'm going right up the middle of the chimney, drawing every other space, a groove in it, just the way bricks are laid, they're alternated, as you know. So then what I'm going to do is come back down, and in the alternate row, I'll put grooves about 3/16 of an inch apart, and then I'll go back the other side. I might add, or up the other side, I might add that you might want to try this out first on a spare piece of wood so you can get the knack of it. It isn't hard, but it does take a little practice to get the technique down and be able to do it in such a way that it starts to look good. But remember, it's the bricks are going to be very small, and the human eye isn't going to pick up a lot of flaws that you might have in your brickwork, especially with your first or second house. There it is. Maybe or under a microscope, it wouldn't take the blue ribbon at the fair, but it would certainly come in a close second. Well, the clay has dried overnight, and I would always let this type of clay dry at least one day, but overnight is certainly good. Now we're just wiping it down, and we'll brush it off, take off any of the like minor dried clay pieces that happen to still be stuck on it from the carving and drying process. Then what we're going to do is paint it with a red brick color. I believe it's a good brick color. It's made by Apple Barrel, and it's called Apple Barrel Barn Red. I'll have a list below, but it's number 20577E. We'll go ahead and mix that up and apply the paint liberally. Now I recommend painting the tops of the chimney, the upper piece and the two side pieces, a black color. And for that I use a Folk Art wrought iron paint. Again, the serial number of it will be down below. But we'll just go ahead and apply that now before we do a second coat of the Barn Red. Okay, now I recommend one more coat of the Barn Red to really give it that deep brick color. Okay, well, with the second coat all dry, we're now going to apply a Mod Podge matte sealer. Mod Podge, is a water-based sealer, and it's important that we put this on so when we put our grout in, we'll be able to wipe the excess of grout off the bricks, leaving it only in the grooves. Okay, the Mod Podge sealer is dry now, so we're going to go ahead and mix our grout. What I recommend using for grout is a product called Golden Light Molding Paste. It's a lightweight acrylic textured medium that serves good for grout, stucco, any cement type product. So I'm going to mix it with the country gray that you see there and the vanilla, because not the vanilla, white paint rather, excuse me. The light molding paste comes in an opaque white. So first what we'll do is we'll go ahead and mix our country gray and our white paint together, because we want to get kind of a lighter gray, kind of an off-white light gray that would have the appearance of a brick mortar. So we'll go ahead and mix that up. What I'm putting in is 2 parts country gray and 1 part apple barrel white. Country gray is also made by Apple Barrel, by the way. So this mixture will still leave the color quite dark because we're going to mix it in with all the white molding paste, you know, so there's an awful lot of white there to mix with the gray. Now we'll go ahead and add a generous amount of the molding paste because we want a thick grout-like mixture, you know, almost like a pudding type of mixture that's going to go in those grooves quite well, and we'll be able to wipe off the excess of grout once it dries, or while it's in the process of drying. Apply the mixture to the bottom part of the chimney only, and apply it very liberally and really work it into the grooves as you're applying it. Okay, well now you want to wet a cloth with water and really squeeze out most of the water from it, so you have a nice damp but fairly dry cloth. And then go ahead and wipe off the excess of grout from the red brick areas, leaving only the grout in the grooves. After you do this for a while with the damp cloth, then take a clean white dry cloth and buff all the bricks as good as you can, and you'll find that, you know, it takes a few minutes, but if you keep applying this, even if you want to repeat the process of the damp cloth again and then the dry cloth, it'll come out looking very good. And I would just repeat this process on the rest of the chimney. And there you have it, a first-class miniature chimney. Well, if you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up below, and also subscribe. That way you can be informed of my new projects. This stone house is a complete craft project, from the top of the chimney to the display stand that it sits on. And by necessity, I've divided it into 6 parts, according to the sequence that I built it in. So if you're going to build one of these for yourself, I certainly recommend that you view the other 5 videos. Don't forget to get a free copy of the house plan drawings below, plus the supplies list and the list of tools that I use. In case you can't get some of these items locally, I've also furnished links for you to obtain them. Lastly, I invite you to visit my Etsy shop, where you can see examples of other models that I've made. See the link below. Good luck with your own build, and if you have any questions, ask them in the comment section.